Things First is sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe alongside Nick Wright. Kevin Wildes, Greg Jennings is with us on a Wednesday morning. We got a great show for you today. Hey, guess what Brady gave up to get number 12 in Tampa Bay? I'll give you a hint. You can definitely afford it. Nick made it onto a very prestigious list yesterday. Wait till you hear what that's all about. And are the Miami Dolphins suddenly on the move? That's where we'll kick things off this morning with a little NFL draft drama. And this is what's all about. A recent report has the Miami Dolphins considering trading up from the 5th pick to the number 1 overall spot to grab Heisman-winning LSU quarterback Joe Burrow. With 3 first-round picks, Miami certainly has the capital to do it. But, Nick, is it a good idea for the Dolphins?
I don't think it would be a good idea at all. And I want to spend my time disabusing the nation, if I may, of something that I think is a misconception. And that is the actual value of the first overall pick in the NFL. This is not the NBA, where the single best thing you can win is a championship, and the next best thing you can win is the draft lottery for a chance to draft LeBron or Zion or Anthony Davis or Derrick Rose, or go up and down the list of the MVPs or future MVPs that have been the number 1 pick. The number 1 pick in the NFL draft since Peyton Manning went number 1 overall has been more than a mixed bag. It's been downright disappointing. Look at this. That's all your number 1 overall picks post-Peyton that aren't on their rookie deal still. Eli won 2 championships, put him at the top. The next best group of guys are those 3 quarterbacks. And think about this. Cam, people are done with. He's only 30 years old. Andrew Luck played 86 NFL games, and Stafford never won a playoff game. And that's your next best after Eli. Jake Long made a few Pro Bowls, but didn't make it out of his rookie contract in Miami before he moved on to 3 other teams. Clowney didn't make it out of his rookie contract with the Texans. Mario Williams didn't make it out of his rookie contract with the Texans, or make it to their second contract, I should say. And Eric Fisher has been a solid, if unspectacular, player. And then look at the next tier. Mike Vick had his highest NFL moments with his second team. Alex Smith had his highest NFL moments with his second team. Carson Palmer had his best NFL moments with his third team. Jared Goff, we'll see. Jameis Winston didn't make it to his second contract. Sam Bradford didn't make it to his second contract with the team that drafted him, and injuries riddled his entire career. And then you have the outright busts on the bottom. I left no one out. That is from Peyton Manning up until the most Myles Garrett, Kyler Murray, and Baker Mayfield. Like, this is your list, Kevin Wildes. So not only would I not be super excited about having the number 1 overall pick, but Kevin, if I'm Miami, I certainly wouldn't be trading a bunch of assets for the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I was shocked to hear the story. I think the other little tidbit here is, I guess Miami doesn't like Tua. If they can grab Tua at 5, why are you trading everybody for Joe Burrow? So I'm going to kick it back to you, Nick. Where do you see Burrow and Tua on this pyramid if you had to project out, let's say, 5 years?
Yeah, so I'm a huge believer in Tua. And so if anyone was going to join Eli on the unquestioned right pick star player, it would be him. And I see Burrow on that tier right beneath, a Matt Stafford-ish, like, nobody's mad Matt Stafford's their quarterback, but Detroit obviously has hurt him a bit, but it's like, he was good, but not the guy that you can say, this is my franchise quarterback. I hope I have him for 15 years, and I believe I'm going to win championships. So, Jenna, I just think people talk about tanking in the NFL, and they talk about getting the number 1 pick, and, I wish we would have lost that game. Which of these teams ended up after, with the benefit of hindsight saying, damn, we nailed that? I don't know that any of them feel that way, except for the Giants, who, by the way, the Giants, it should be noted, had the 4th pick and had to trade into that number 1 spot because Eli didn't want to go to the Chargers, Jenna.
But, Greg, it's hard to justify mortgaging your future when you're more than just one piece away, which it seems that's what Miami seems to be doing. What do you think about that and Nick's larger-than-life tier and where he has everybody placed?
Well, I'll address the Dolphins first. And when it comes to them contemplating moving up to the number one pick, whatever the case may be, I'm with Nick. I don't think they should do it because they have so many valuable picks and they have so many assets, just draft picked assets that teams would love to have, but they need. And when you look at what they've done this offseason, they've done a phenomenal job of just making sure that they address necessary needs. And now they have an opportunity to get who they want at the position that they already currently hold at the number 5 overall pick. And Kevin, to address your point about maybe they're not as high on Tua, I completely disagree. I think that if the reason that they would even consider trying to move up to number 1 is because of all of the knowledge that we're starting to get and information about Tua being healthy and being cleared to 100% be involved in all activities, and his hip is not becoming an issue. I think that is concerning to them to almost want to believe that there may be one of these other teams that want to go and grab Tua right away. So I don't even want to give them that opportunity. So with that, I could understand why you would go all in on a player who you believe will completely turn around your franchise and be that heir apparent to Dan Marino, because they have not had a quarterback be anywhere close. Chad Pennington was probably the next best quarterback in Miami since Dan Marino. And so when you have this opportunity, you got to take it. But I don't think they should. As far as Nick's a pyramid, Michael Vick, man, you got to have Vick higher, man. With some of the guys that you got as solid players, Vick is definitely a solid, if not higher player. He was a franchise quarterback now.
All right, well, before, Nick, you react, that's an interesting wrinkle that you brought up. The assumption is that Miami would jump up, obviously, to grab Burrow, which everyone assumes is the number 1 pick, to run up to grab Tua and still take the rest of your draft capital. Well, that's just an interesting angle. But, Nick, there are 3 guys you did leave off your list, 3 number 1 picks for whom the jury is still out because they are still young on their rookie deals. Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Myles Garrett. If you had to project those 3, where would you place them?
So a number of things. I think Myles Garrett would fit perfectly within the Clowney, Mario Williams, solid players. Maybe he'll be better. Maybe he'll be transcendent. But Mario Williams was a very good NFL player that didn't bring you quite the value of the number 1 overall pick. Same with Clowney. Baker, you would have to, right now, projects as a hit-or-miss quarterback. His rookie year was a hit. His second year was a miss. Kyler, we have such a limited sample, I'm almost hesitant to slot him anywhere. Quickly, just to respond to Greg about Vick, listen, Vick's one of my favorite players ever. But given what happened to him off the field and given that he reached his pinnacle of success with Philadelphia, if you're the Atlanta Falcons and you spend the number 1 pick on Michael Vick, you look back on it and say, it didn't pan out the way we hoped. Now, if we are projecting forward, though, Jenna, and Kevin, I'll kick this to you, there's a guy not on this who is not even in this year's draft, in Trevor Lawrence, that everything I said about the number 1 overall pick being overrated, I will take all the way back for Trevor Lawrence and his draft class specifically, because I think he's a future superstar when he comes out in 2021. I don't know where you land on that, Wilds.
Well, you know where I land on it. We know that Belichick is stacking picks, and I think people are going to make an insane haul. Someone's going to take an insane haul for Trevor Lawrence. Like next year, I think it's interesting. Like, what would you do next year if you were a terrible team? Suppose you were the Bengals again. Do you definitely take Trevor Lawrence, or do you have if you have a huge amount of picks coming to you, would you take picks or Trevor Lawrence?
I think Trevor Lawrence is the surest thing we've seen in the league coming out of college since Peyton. You could offer me the Ricky Williams trade, and there is no deal I would take to not take Trevor Lawrence if I needed a quarterback. And your pipe dream, so the Patriots in 3 years, their quarterback roster is going to be Trevor Lawrence, the starter, Cam Newton, the backup, and Tom Brady on his age 45 seasons, the third stringer. I think those are the three quarterbacks you've mocked to New England over the last 96 hours. I love it.
Back here, first things first, let's play a little drawing a blank this morning. So Tom Brady will once again be TB12. That after teammate Chris Godwin, who wore number 12, agreed to give up number 12 to Tom Brady. Godwin is switching from 14. But now the team is reporting that nothing was exchanged for this jersey swap. So, Nick, Brady not giving Godwin anything for number 12 is blank.
Well, listen, I'm not one prone to hyperbole, and I don't want to overreact, but this is shocking and appalling. Chris Godwin has made just over $2 million in his career. Tom Brady has made just under $250 million in his career on the field. Chris Godwin is a third-round pick who is yet to get to his second NFL contract. For Tom Brady not to throw a couple $100,000 his way, which, would have made a demonstrable difference in Godwin's life, and Brady would have never noticed it or never known it was gone, is to me shocking and appalling. I'm shocked that Brady didn't do it, and I'm appalled that he didn't do it. So I hope this story is inaccurate, Greg Jennings, because I cannot believe it.
Yeah, it's unimaginable. I can't imagine a scenario where...
What is happening?
I seriously can't imagine a scenario where this is the reality. And I get it. Chris Godwin did and said the right things. Like, I don't want anything. He's respecting the GOAT and Tom Brady, but I truly believe in his heart of hearts, as I would have been assuming that with everything that I've heard and seen with Tom Brady and his relationship with his teammates, specifically his receivers, that there would have been some kickback. There would have been something that he would have offered me undisclosed, and I would have taken that and just been ecstatic. I think that possibly is still the case. I just can't see or imagine a scenario where Tom Brady doesn't offer Chris Godwin anything.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Tom Brady is going to get Chris Godwin tens of millions of dollars. So that's more than, hey, here's a new watch for your number. He's going to get him tens of millions of dollars. Matthew Berry released his early fantasy projections. Number 5, Julio. Number 6, Amari Cooper, who signed a $100 million contract. And number 7 is Godwin. So now Tom Brady is going to set Chris Godwin up to make $100 million.
Wilds.
It's more than enough.
Did Dak Prescott get that money for Amari Cooper? Did Derek Carr get that money for Amari Cooper? No. Amari put that work.
But that's why Tom Brady is better than those quarterbacks.
You guys are all fired up for nothing. There's no way this story is true. Tom Brady's like the most altruistic person we've ever met. Of course, you probably gave him 6 cars. It's not even a true story. Guaranteed, it'll come out. I would bet my life on it.
This is great. I love this new math we can do, which is positive Tom Brady stories that are unbelievable. Like, I just want their phone numbers, and I pitched myself to the Bucks. We believe them.
Yeah.
But negative Tom Brady stories, we're fake news, bad media, fake news.
No,
give me a break.
I don't believe
Give me a break, Jenna Wolfe. Give me a break.
You nailed it, Nick. You're right on it. We got to move on to the Saints now. Sean Payton might have spilled the beans yesterday, saying Drew Brees, quote, announced he's coming back for his final season. Nick, you're a man of strategic wording. Sean Payton saying that 2020 is Brees' final season is blank.
Premature. Like, pump the brakes there, Sean. You guys lost Teddy Bridgewater. I know you've got Taysom Hill and his 13 career pass attempts waiting in the wings. But if Drew Brees wants to come back for age 41 And if he plays well at age 40, then if I'm Drew, I'm like, hey, calm down. I'm beloved in the city. I'm the greatest player in the history of the franchise. I brought you a Super Bowl. I just gave New Orleans $5 million. Don't be kicking me out the door for the kick returner that you want to have take my job in Taysom Hill. I call it premature, Greg Jennings.
I completely disagree. I couldn't disagree anymore. I think it's very strategic. When you look at the way it was said, there was no stutter, stammer. There was no rebuttal from having said it. Sean Payton knew exactly what he was doing. He's playing his cards the correct way. He already has Drew Brees. They've shown a sign of loyalty, signing him for a 2-year, $50 million contract. But they also understand that we have a future of what we can see in Taysom Hill. So we have to say and do the right thing so that he knows that, look, guys, we're in on you. You're going to be playing. You're going to be a part of what we're doing moving forward this year. Look at some of the things Drew Brees has said. If Taysom Hill gets 25, 30 snaps, I'm good with it. They've shown, which very few teams do, a sign of loyalty to Drew Brees and making sure that he's under contract and he's able to finish his career out in New Orleans. I don't see this as any issue. A very strategic by Sean Payton.
Wow. This reminded me of the 2007 hit movie Wild Hogs, starring John Travolta, Martin Lawrence, William H. Macy, and who was the fourth Wild Hog? Tim Allen. So you've got a bunch of old quarterbacks, Brady, Brees, Rivers, and Big Ben. I don't think they have any interest in hanging it up. They're just going to keep going, get on their motorcycles, and ride into the distance. Wild Hogs, I'm going with Jenna.
I used to think I had interesting taste in movies, and then Wilds came along, joined our staff. Now he has the most interesting taste in movies. On to the draft now. An interesting report that multiple teams prefer Oregon's Justin Herbert over Tua Tagovailoa as the number 2 quarterback off the board. Nick, teams ranking Herbert over Tua are blank.
Hiring soon. And what they're hiring is their next general manager. Because if you have the opportunity to take Tua and you take Oregon quarterback Justin Herbert, that will be the last major decision you make as the general manager of the franchise. And the next guy's going to have to come in and clean up that mess. So I'll be quick. Greg, I'll say if anyone does this, they will be hiring a new general manager soon.
Yeah, this is typical, man. There's always that team, that general manager, as Nick is alluding to, that feels like, you know what? He's 6'6", 240. He's the typical prototype for what we're looking for in this National Football League. He can see over tall linemen. He can throw from the pocket. So what? Tua is leaps and bounds better than Justin Herbert, and anyone who has a set of eyes can identify that, but some will disagree, and it's typical. We see it with Baker Mayfield going over Sam Darnold and others.
I think this is a smokescreen, Jenna. I actually am a little more optimistic than Nick is. I think that people actually want to and are saying that they like Herbert. I'm not buying it. I think it's a smokescreen.
Oh, that's an interesting take. All right, moving on to the Colts. They reportedly evaluated Tom Brady this offseason, but ultimately, Phillip Rivers was a better fit for them. So, Nick, the Colts thinking that Rivers was a better fit than Brady is blank.
An indictment. And now I don't know if it's an indictment on Brady or it's an indictment on the Colts' ability to watch the Chargers last year, but it's an indictment on somebody. Because if you watched Phillip Rivers just throw 20 ducks into the air that ended in interceptions, and it could have been 35, and said he's a better fit than Tom Brady, either A, Brady is more done than even I think he is, or B, you were watching 2018 Phillip Rivers thinking it was 2019 Phillip Rivers. So it's an indictment on somebody involved here, because as down as I am about Brady, I don't know how you could actively opt for Phillip Rivers over him. There has not been a moment in Rivers' career from his first year to last year, where he was better than Tom Brady, and I don't think he will be next year either, Greg.
Nick, you're missing it. This is logical. And the reason why this is logical for the Colts to say this is because Phillip Rivers has been consistent. This is who he's been. So what they've seen, Frank Wright goes on a radio show and he says, look, I haven't seen any drop off. His arm strength is there. All these things. No, you haven't, because this has been Phillip Rivers from day one to right now, present day. He's thrown some great throws and made some great passes and threw a lot of touchdowns, but he's going to throw it to the other team. And every coach tends to think that they can resolve and fix that issue. I don't see it happening, but this is logical for Frank Wright and staff to believe Phillip Rivers is better suited than Tom Brady.
Jenna, I think Phillip Rivers is an old, comfy sweatshirt. Not a great sweatshirt, but it's yours. And it fits well. It doesn't look great. It's got some patches. It's got some stains on it. But that's what Phillip Rivers is to the Colts organization. Frank Reich worked with Phillip Rivers for 3 years. Sirianni worked with Phillip Rivers for 5 years. And hey, he's not great, but he's ours. An old sweatshirt,
I love
Jenna.
that sweatshirt. It's hard.
Comfy one.
I want to toss it, but Rivers and the Colts. Speaking of Tom Brady, WEEI radio host Christian Foria listed his top 3 Tom Brady haters. Here we go, guys. Chris Sims coming in at number 1. Our guy, Nick Wright, right behind him at number 2, and Rob Parker rounding out the list. Nick is a guy who I would think always strives to be number 1 at everything. I'm sorry that you came in just shy of number 1 on the list at number 2, but just making the list is blank.
Belichickian, because what we found out all 2019 and this offseason was, you know who is just aligned with me on their thoughts on Tom Brady? The greatest coach ever and the only NFL head coach Tom Brady's ever had, Bill Belichick. Because Bill Belichick watched him in the playoff game and said, 4th and 3, let's punt the ball away. Goal line against the Chiefs, let's try to hammer it in. Can't trust the quarterback. And then this offseason looked at Brady and said, yeah, I'll go with Stidham. So these doofuses in Boston can say whatever they want, but what I think of Brady is what Belichick thinks of Brady. So I call this Belichickian, Greg Jennings.
I say it was gracious. They graced Nick with the second versus the first, simply because every comment that Nick tends to make about Tom Brady, he proceeds on to say, I'm not a Brady hater. Everyone thinks I hate Brady. People who say that, people who have to make that comment and that notoriety of or that statement of saying, but no, you meant exactly what you said before you said the but. So Nick, they were gracious in giving you second. I believe you're first, possibly tied first with our counterpart Rob Parker. But you're definitely first.
Yeah, so I agree, Greg. Jen, I'm going to put Nick in the blender here. My word is Jordan-esque. Nick, you might not have been the number 1 pick, but you are the greatest of all time.
Oh, that's really interesting. I see what you did there. You're trying to box me in. Do I want to argue with you about the Brady thing or about the Jordan thing? I'll do both.
Smart, Wild.
Because Greg Jennings is wrong, because I can say this about, it is not disrespectful to Michael Jordan to talk about how amazing he is. He is a consensus, without a doubt, top 3 player in the history of the league. And if it's not good enough to say he's the second greatest ever, well, then you have an agenda, not me. Just like with Brady, I'm not a hater by saying he's the greatest quarterback ever and the most accomplished football player ever by a mile, but he's also not good anymore. That's not being a hater. That's being a truth teller, just like Jenna, one Bill Belichick was this offseason with his decision making.
Back here on First Things First, talking about free agent Cam Newton. The former MVP's future is up in the air after Carolina released him last week, but our friends over at Fox Bet are giving the Chargers the best odds to land the 30-year-old quarterback, with the Jaguars, Dolphins, Broncos, and Patriots behind them. Nick, would the Chargers make sense for Cam Newton?
They'd make an immense amount of sense. This is great news for Charger fans, terrible news for me as a Chiefs fan, because all of a sudden there'd be a real live second team to worry about in the division. And those are, if you're not a bettor, those odds are overwhelming. If the Chargers are a favorite, according to Fox Bet, versus the field, there's not another team that's worse than 4-1 or worse than 4-1. So that is overwhelming, according to Fox Bet. He goes to the Chargers. And it should be overwhelming because for every reason I said Tom Brady made sense to the Chargers, Cam Newton makes even more sense because at this point in his career, he's better than Tom Brady. He might not sell quite as many tickets, but he is a name. He is a star. We saw him the last time he was healthy, the first half of 2018, play some of the best football of his career. The Chargers gave Anthony Lynn an extension, the head coach, but it's a fake extension. It's one additional year, meaning he's coaching for his job this year after his first bad year with the team for being 5-11 last season. So they have weapons. They have two legitimate superstars on defense. The AFC kind of has a soft middle tier, which they could skyrocket to the top of, or at least near the top of. And they have a need at quarterback, Wilds, because Tyrod Taylor, I like Tyrod, but Tyrod, if he's your backup, you love him. If he's your starter, you're always looking for the next guy. And Kevin, it would give the Chargers a jolt of energy and excitement. So for all those reasons, I think it makes perfect sense for the Chargers, Kevin.
Look, I'm a Patriots fan. I want Cam on the Patriots badly. I'm going to start a burner Twitter account and just respond to every official Patriots tweet with the Cam gif of him nodding and getting focused. But if he's not going to the Patriots, I would like him to go to the Chargers because I'm a fan of the NFL overall. I pulled up the Chargers 2020 opponents on the old trusty rusty computer here. In addition to 2 games against Mahomes, that would be nice to see Nick just totally devastated that he could win. Cam plays against the Bengals, so he'll have Joe Burrow versus Cam would be a great game. Broncos game against his old offense coordinator, Mike Shula, who's now the quarterback's coach. So that'll be like, it's like a little either revenge game or some sort of Shakespearean thing there. Then we've got Patriots. So like Belichick, we kind of wanted this guy. What are we going to do? Breeze, Tampa Bags, Cam versus Brady. And then finally, you play the Panthers. Whatever team Cam goes to, I want him to play the Panthers. The over-under on that game will be 100 points, and this final score of the game will be 100-0. Cam is going to light the Panthers on fire. Greg, I wouldn't mind him going to the Chargers. Right. Long story short.
Too late.
I think.
Hey,
I
Greg,
think
let me just ask you this. Go ahead. Go ahead, Greg.
Jenna. I think the Chargers
would be
I'm
a little higher on Tyrod Taylor than Nick is. Nick is out on Tyrod Taylor as a starter, better on him as a backup. Chargers already have him in place. He knows the system. They've got a good team in place. Should they even want Cam Newton?
Yeah, they should. They should because he's a superstar. He's a proven winner. He's a former MVP. He's taken a team to the Super Bowl. He understands what it takes, and he's maturing. Look, this notion of he's 30 years old and he's getting older and no one wants him. No, I don't even think that it's no one wants him. It's teams have what they desire right now on their roster, and they have the draft in front of them and options right there lying in front of them with the draft. And so they're waiting. And I think Cam will land soon after the draft. But if there is a team that he could end up very well on, as we see the Fox Bet, it's the Chargers. And it would be great. It would be fantastic, not only for the city of Los Angeles from a fan base and from a drawing perspective, but for Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and those guys to get Cam Newton. They would love it. They would absolutely thrive with Cam Newton at quarterback. And it would be the first time Cam Newton has had more than just one receiver that he could really rely and depend on. And the defense, the Chargers were a bad team. They just suffered a lot of injuries. Derwin James and what have you, they were injured. I like the Chargers, especially if Cam Newton is their quarterback.
Nick, do the Chargers suddenly become contenders in the AFC if they get Cam?
100%. Like, listen, right now, the Chiefs and the Ravens are clearly the two favorites going into next season out of the AFC. But who is third? We don't know who the quarterback for the Patriots is. We do know who the quarterback for the Bills is, and that probably hurts their case. The Steelers, we know who their quarterback is, but we don't know what he weighs, and we don't know if his elbow works anymore. The Texans just traded away their best player, or their second best player, pardon me. The Colts are starting Phillip Rivers. There is a very, very legitimate argument to be made that with a healthy Cam Newton, the Chargers become the third best team in the AFC. And it should be noted, we are just one season removed from the Chargers being tied with the Chiefs for the best record in the conference, Jenna, at 12-4. Then Rivers' season went to hell and Derwin James broke his foot. That's what happened in 2019. So yes, absolutely, Jenna, they become contenders if they had a healthy Cam Newton.
Back here, first things first, it is time for stories to start your morning. Nick, your Chiefs have a whopping $177 of available cap space. Bears repeating $177. Or in my daughter's language, that is 12 LOL dolls worth of money for cap space. What do you think they should spend it on?
Well, listen, they're not going to be able to spend it on anything, but this is awful news for the other 31 teams because it speaks to not only do the Chiefs have the best quarterback in the league, they might have the best general manager in the league. We talk all the time. Take advantage of your rookie quarterback window when you've got a great quarterback on a rookie contract. That is exactly what the Chiefs have done. And the team that just won the Super Bowl, they've been able to retain essentially every key component of that Super Bowl team. And they go into the draft with nearly $200 to spend. I will also add this, Wilds. If they were to trade away Sammy Watkins, that $177 quickly turns into $14,177,000. So if they need wiggle room, they'll have it. And then eventually they'll rework some things to sign Patrick Mahomes. This is great news for me, awful news for you and fans of the other 31 teams.
Okay. Greg, I'm actually surprised an enterprising agent didn't run the numbers and get their client the extra 177 that was just going to be sitting there.
That's a good one, Wild. That's a good one. But I think they would take the commas before the 177 and just tell them you can keep the 177. However, Nick, I'm with you. I don't think this is a bad problem to have. Obviously, because they have planned this out correctly and they understood where they would be in this present moment, and they'll make the proper adjustments. Great teams do, great general managers do, money men do, and that's what they've proven to be. Their focus is making sure they keep everyone together, but then also understanding we have to pay that man, and that man is Pat Mahomes, and that's going to be their primary focus. They'll be all right.
$177. All right, moving on to Tom Brady now. TB12 gets to keep his nickname and his number with the Bucs. Wideout Chris Godwin gave up his 12 to keep 14. Brady reportedly didn't give up any compensation for it either. Greg, you giving up your number to play with the greatest of all time?
Nah, I'm not. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not, man, because I get it. I get it. Tom Brady he's worn number 12 forever. But the same way he feels about his number 12, I'm sure Godwin feels about his number 12. And if he had been in the league a little longer, I would say he probably wouldn't just give it away. But yeah, I wouldn't give it up.
Nick, I like this little sign of camaraderie here. Brady is 12, Mike Evans is 13, and Godwin takes 14. It's like the old Bronx Bombers Yankees. I like it. It's like a nice pro-line poster I'm going to put up in my kid's bedroom.
Yeah, you know how that could have absolutely worked and it would have actually been a sign of camaraderie? If Brady would have taken 14. 12, 13, 14, all still aligned. Brady walks in, I just want phone numbers. And listen, let me read you. This is important. People think I'm joking. This is important. Chris Godwin to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers website, not caught up in the air by some reporter, to their team website when asked about this a week ago. If he, meaning Brady, if he's not making a big deal of it, I'm definitely going to keep it. I'm passionate about my number. His fiance has the number 12 in her Instagram handle. Chris Godwin also. It is not necessarily good for him and his future finances. This is the part, Wilds, you're not going to... Oh, wait a second. This is the part you might not like to hear. But for Chris Godwin's long-term money, Brady coming there is not necessarily a good thing. Jameis is bad for winning. He's not bad for a receiver's numbers. He threw for 5,000 yards, 33 touchdowns last year. Godwin had a 1,300-yard season. He's never made any money. It's probably actually a net negative for him that Brady comes there, and then he also Wilds Debo's him for the number and doesn't even give him a car or a watch or a few $100,000. I can't, not my GOAT. I know my GOAT just said Anthony Davis, take it. Take the number. Even though I've been here longer, take the number. That's what my GOAT did, but I don't know about yours. So you tell me.
Jenna, are we still going?
What?
Do you want to still go on this?
Speechless.
Dusty sent me a nice thing of how much money Deion Branch got paid by the Seahawks. So maybe Godwin's not going to get paid in Tampa, but he's going to make tens of millions of dollars.
All right.
Okay.
We got to move on to the Saints now. This is an interesting one. Sean Payton said Taysom Hill sees himself as a starting quarterback, and we do too, meaning the Saints. Only problem with that, guy by the name of Drew Brees. Nick, what'd you make of Payton's comments?
The Taysom Hill as a starting quarterback story, I can't give it a precedent in NFL history. Taysom Hill would be a quality player on all 32 teams. All 32 teams want to have a guy like that can do a little of everything. But can we show Taysom Hill's career numbers? It would appear the thing he does worst is throw the football. It's like, oh, decent rusher. Wow, 8 receiving touchdowns. Wow, look at those returning yards. He has thrown playoffs and regular season combined 15 passes. Not touchdowns, that's 0. 15 total passes. I had no idea. I'm sure that Taysom Hill as a starting quarterback story makes Brad Smith and Antoine Randall L. and these other guys that were Taysom Hills in the past, and no one ever considered starting quarterback saying, oh, let me get some of that. Where was that when I was a 29-year-old Swiss Army knife? But if that's what the Saints want to do in a year, more power to them. Wilds, I don't get it at all.
Remember when I said that the Patriots quarterback situation was drama-free? Because the Saints also have a legend that is like kind of they're transitioning out of. But the Patriots are not talking about Mohamed Sanu becoming the quarterback, even though Mohamed Sanu has thrown for 4 career touchdowns. Belichick's not entertaining it. So the fact that Sean Payton's like, yeah, you're our guy is mind-boggling, Greg.
Look, what other option do they have? They don't have any other option right now. So this is their guy. Taysom Hill is their guy. Sean Payton does a great job of making sure that he puts their guys in the best position to succeed, whether that's at quarterback, running the ball, or at quarterback, splitting him out, putting him at receiver. He's going to get on the field. He's going to play. He's going to impact the game. That's what they want. That's what they're enjoying right now. But when it comes down to under center, I don't know if we've seen enough of Taysom Hill. They have seen more than Taysom Hill than we have in practice. And I tell you what, I've seen guys in practice that took jobs over and that really excelled. Aaron Rodgers being one of them. No one thought that he should be the guy right then, but he stepped in and we didn't skip a beat. So they're seeing things that we don't see.
Greg's right. They got no other choice right now. Teddy Bridgewater left. Taysom Hill is apparently the heir apparent.
Hold on. Wait a second. Wait. No.
Go.
Wait. Jameis Winston doesn't have a job. Cam doesn't have a job. The draft is yet to happen. There's free agency next year. The idea, they got no choice. If it's week 12 and Drew Brees breaks his shoulder and then you have no other choice. It's April 1st. And this somehow isn't an April Fool's joke. They're talking about what they're doing a year from now. The argument can't be we got no choice. We've been backed into this. They could have kept Teddy. This is insanity. It's total insanity that a guy with 15 career pass attempts and he's damn near 30. It's like, nope, he's our heir apparent. It's insane. It's insane. Sorry.
Don't kill the messenger. These were Sean Payton's words. Finally, what better time than now to catch up on watching some classic sports films? The Athletic released their top sports movies of all time, with Rocky coming in at number 1. Greg, I'll start with you. Besides Tin Cup and Major League, obviously 2 of the best movies within the realm of sports ever created. What is the most underrated sports movie of all time?
Well, I gotta give Hoop Runnings a shout out. Hoop Dreams a shout out. But for me, Cool Runnings. That's where I got the mix up there. Cool Runnings, Jamaican bobsled movie where some sprinters who didn't make the Olympics because of sprinting turned into bobsledders. Phenomenal movie, kid-friendly, family movie. Sit down and watch it one time if you haven't already.
You know what's an underrated movie that I actually haven't seen? The video of Greg Jennings doing 1,000 push-ups in an hour. He actually said 1,000 push-ups in a half hour. Said it yesterday. Said he was going to do it. Said he was going to record it. Here we are on the show. We're running out of time. We haven't seen it. Greg, what happened?
I said I made just for Nick.
No, you said you were going to do it.
No, I said I made just for you, Nick. Give you that video.
Yeah, you didn't text me anything, Greg. You didn't.
No,
Greg
I didn't
text me anything. Wilds, it's a great take by you, Greg. I did see Greg yesterday doing lat pull downs, but regardless, let me quickly give the most underrated sports movie of all time. When I was a preteen, there was a bunch of little kid baseball movies that came out. The Sandlot, Rookie of the Year. They all paled in comparison to my dream movie, Little Big League. A 12-year-old kid inherits the Minnesota Twins, becomes a general manager, and leads them to prominence. That honestly inspired me the way I think, athletes look at athletic movies. I'm like, that could be me. Little kid running a team, Little Big League, Jenna, most underrated sports movie of all time.
Nick, that was a good movie. Not gonna lie, The Little Giants, if I remember correctly. All right, that is all for us today. Hey, good show tomorrow. Saints All-Pro defensive end Cam Jordan will be joining us. We will be back here tomorrow morning. Stay safe, stay healthy, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.